world population and found that's 7.9 billion people. So if I think of me, I'm one out of the 8 billion people on Earth, tiny speckle. And there are billions of galaxies. So of all the things, I know I exist, that's a miracle, but I'm insignificant from the point of view of the universe. Still, I'm alive and I want to do my best in my life. And the talk here is about metamorphosis. I see me transforming, and this view or insight, I find it interesting. There's a saying from Dogen, Zen master, and one of his book, he was talking about people may go down the river on the boat, and you see the scenery changing, but you may forget that you are changing. And when I read that, I don't know when, but it stuck with me, and I see me transforming. Metamorphosis is what's going on. And because I find what's going on everywhere is impermanent, nothing stays the same. And yet I'm here, I talk into this voice memo, and I think I know that I'm alive. It's a miracle, and I find it quite impressive, appreciate. And perhaps one of the reasons why I feel I'm transforming is that I feel transparent within myself. I think I relate this to the awakening experience, and less I identify with my ego or some position and open to all the things happening inside of me, outside of me, and everything is changing, but I'm aware of the change. That's the awareness of being in the moment. And the transformation, I talk about myself and everything else, or impermanence, and there's some evolution, if you want to call it. The law of the universe is prevailing. And somewhat contrasting to that, my work for the last 40 years or so, I was guiding organization, helping the best I could, transforming the organization with the idea of the waste elimination and appreciation of the people's potential. That's the first book. And the second book was about the management, mini company idea, and the glassful management, which is about transparency so that people can relate to each other, see each other, what's going on, instead of blocked. I call it brick wall management. The glass wall is open so that each entity from the top to the bottom or shop floor, there are lots of, I call mini company or mini companies, mini companies, each of them with a group sharing the mission and working together to help the customers connect with the suppliers, and organically they can make their organization flexible by having this idea with the idea of the glasswall management, the transformation, transparency, bring the transformation for people to have as if the energy of the organization start to flow without much blockage. And that's my work, but within myself, I start to see the same symptom happening. I call it mini-me, contrasting to mini company. There's me, some entity of who I am, but I can see broken down to different segments of it. And one of the ideas called the life profile. If I want to manage my life well, that idea popped up 22 years ago after my awakening, that how do I do this? And I came up with the idea of being sincere and truthful. That's important, one of the most important items I monitor. And then I monitor how I'm doing in the work and hobby, having fun, relationship, finance, and health. So I monitor every 3-4 months for the last 22 years to see how I'm moving on. And at the time, I felt like it's continuously adjusting to the needs and prioritizing and make sure the whole work-life balance and everything, relationship and all that is well balanced. But also, most importantly, I have a view of this being sincere and truthful in whatever I do. So that's one of the major items about myself. And when I do that, I start to look into myself and monitor, go through the plan, to check, act cycle to improve, but also coming up with wisdom by Sila, Samadhi, Panna, right conduct, calm and quiet mind to expose the issues to work on, the blockage and all that, and then come up with the insight so that I keep developing more wisdom, hopefully. And that's the connection to the transformation, metamorphosis, me evolving, and less rigid, less identified like an ego, but rather ego may be broken down to different segments, and each of them speak their own language or the idea. Many me maybe have an identity about the money or the fame or the relationship or the holidays, vacation, all sorts of ideas that I have to synthesize, sort things out. So that has been the case, but more I look into it, one of the ideas that is shared by JBTaylor, who is a brain scientist who got the stroke and found that her left hemisphere of the brain basically dead. And then she had a euphoria, wonderful sense of being, living in the now, with a sensation and connection with others intuitively, because the left brain is more on the logic, cause and effect, the words, linear processing, versus the right brain is more like animal. The word I used often in the recent video is that we have a human way, but we have the nature's way. The nature's way is like a garden of Eden, living in there, like animals, but harmoniously, at least it may look like it, to have a balance among themselves. But we humans develop this brain ability to go beyond the process going on in the Garden of Eden, so that we can call it evolve. As a matter of fact, because of the use of the tools, the brain, we could manage to live longer and take care of the security issues, the food, and the threat. And that's how we got this 8 billion populations. But at the same time, we have exchanged the pain in the body into the mind-related pain. And therefore, this overcoming the mental pain is the spiritual angle that I look into. And that's the transformation from the being at the living in the Garden of Eden to be human. And the JBTaylor mentioned that when she started to know about the faculty of the left brain, and when she was to recreate, took 8 years for her to recreate, because she shut off the left brain, but now she is going into that. And she wondered why, if she wanted to do that, because it was so wonderful to be in a bliss, she called it nirvana, being, state of being and connecting, is now challenging herself. But she decided, okay, nirvana is fine, but go back to the society and share that we got all the nirvana within us. So that's the point Daisetsu mentioned too, Suzuki Daisetsu, Japanese Zen scholar. The heaven is not the place for you to be there a long time. Just come back. You seek for it and come back. And work with the people for the evolution of human. Use the term Bodhisattva. They have evolved that we all human has the suffering. And the delusion is endless. But laws that we can learn is also endless. We can study it, and then we can follow this passage, moving in the direction. In this case, call it the Buddha's way. Whatever the term is, that's the direction for us to evolve, go into the next stage of our, from the security, from the physical point of view, to mental issues, and then to the spiritual issues. That's what I see is the transformation. Yet within myself, looking at myself, going back to the idea of the me idea, and if you listen to JBTaylor, she has lots of good examples of how you might want to do that. Discussing the left brain, right brain, intellectual part and the emotional part. So there are different pieces of the neural circuit within us. And depending upon the situation, if you find the threat, it may get into the emotional response to that, or you may still be safe and be cautious about it before jumping into the conclusion. So there are many ways to discuss this, and it's not going to be easy in a few minutes. But basically, what I'm talking is that the organization, how to them to work together, we have to find a system to do it. That's what I've been working on. But within ourselves, within myself, we have to massage myself, making sure that the blockage doesn't exist and one part of me take over for the detriment of the other part of me. So that's the kind of a metamorphosis continuously going on, because the new information comes, as in the case of the river flowing and the boat flowing on the river. Dogen talked about external situation change, but internal situation change, and we need to be on top of it to be alive and navigate our life happily for ourselves, but for others working, living with us. So that's the awareness, the needs, and the approaches that we need to be learning, realizing, acting. In a way, it's like keep on asking the question of, so what's going on here? Everything as it is, and where are we? Are we centered, grounded, or are we just too occupied in the mind or emotion, or are we balanced? That requires like a third eye, so to speak, or awareness. That requires us to have almost like the JBTaylor, the state of awareness, being in the flow of the nature, the sense of bliss, heaven, nirvana, openness, transparency, how things happen, including our left brain, the mind, emotions, and the things that we acquired from old days about how to run away from the threat or defend and fight. Those are within us. And more we can deal with it, we see a better future, better equipped skills to deal with the situation. So that's the metamorphosis, transformation that need to happen. In my view, this is endless as a human being. As much as within myself, I see it as I see the news, challenges, disturbance, difficulties, the opportunities, so many, and for us to go through this is the right thing to do. As much as we have the brain, instead of shutting off the left brain, be in nirvana, I mean, that might be one option. And you can close your eyes or shut off from the society. That's one option if you are not capable or not equipped to deal with the situation. So depending upon the situation, it's like a river is changing its flow and the danger popping up, and you have to navigate. And everybody's got the different background skills, some kind of prioritized, approach that they may have developed. but be wise and learn the lesson as we go and keep on studying and learning, applying and moving forward. I think that's the challenge. I said be grounded, be centered, so that we can see what's going on. For us to keep navigating our life in a balanced manner, make the right decision with calm and quiet mind, be centered, grounded. It may not be easy, but if there's a will, there's a way. And the will may be like a thy will be done. So there's a connection to it. That's how I see it. Thank you.